Kathy Hagan, business consultant with the Florida Small Business Development Center Network at the University of North Florida. And today we're going to talk about business planning and that business plan that a lender or an investor is going to want to see before they will give you access to capital. Business plan can serve a lot of different purposes. It could be a feasibility plan, could be a roadmap for decision making, but really, oftentimes the first time a business owner thinks about writing a business plan is because a bank has told them, well, show me the plan before I will show you the money. So business plan for financing looks at, you want to communicate, how much money you're looking to borrow, what are you going to do with it, so sources and uses of funds, and how are you going to pay it back, and when can you pay it back? So that's the important criteria for a lender is, I just want to be paid back. Business plan also communicates contingency plans if something goes wrong. Business plans are based on projections and looking into the future, and there's a lot of unknowns, there's a lot of assumptions that you make. So the plan talks about, what are the plans, the what-if scenarios to give a bank a comfort level that the actual plan can be achieved. So let's talk about the components of a business plan. Okay? And there are lots of outlines and software programs and books and sample plans that you can look at, all of them a little bit different, but essentially contain the same information. And so sometimes the easiest way to get started with business planning is just a blank piece of paper with an outline next to you to start putting the words on paper. And so these are the critical components that a lender is going to look for in order to evaluate a loan proposal. And you want to keep in mind who the audience of the plan is when you're writing it. And so if I'm preparing this for a banker or a lender, they're interested in repayment of a loan. If I'm preparing it for an investor, then they're looking for what's the return on investment. So there might be some tweaks that you make to it along the way. The first section of the business plan is the executive summary. And it's really just that. It summarizes the body of the plan, and it emphasizes the highlights of the plan so that a lender can understand the concept and, to be honest, be encouraged to read the rest of the plan. So talks about what is the purpose in terms of financing, and really focuses in on the key pieces of the management team, the talents of the management team, the key operational features, the opportunity as it's represented by the market, and what are those financial results that you anticipate are going to happen. 1 or 2 pages, you really have to grab the banker or investor with that 1 or 2 pages, or they may never read the rest of the plan. So really critical to have a solid 2-page executive summary to sell the idea. And while it is the first section of the plan to appear in the document, it's going to be the last thing that you write, because I really want to have a solid body of the plan before I go to summarize it. So let's talk about the body of the plan. Well, it starts with a description of the business. And this defines what is the purpose of your business. Why are you doing what you say you're going to do? So if somebody asks you what you did, you could answer that question. So talking about the products or services that you're planning to offer and the market that you're offering them to. Basics in terms of production and your competitive advantage. This really describes the entire business model and how the business model makes money. The next piece of the plan is the market analysis. And this is really, to me, the heart of a business plan, because it defines who's going to buy what I'm selling. So I want to have some good solid research, and I want to turn to that research and reference that research in my plan. I want to highlight industry trends that affect the business that I'm running or looking to start. I want to create a customer profile and really define the target market and quantify it as much as possible, because as I get towards the end of the business plan, I'm going to have to do some financial analysis and financial projections, and it really helps if I quantify up front, number of customers that are in the market, the number of competitors, those types of things. If I measure it now, then I can use that information much better later on. Market analysis would also look at competition. Who's already out there doing what I'm going to do, and how do I compete? So I want to have a good feel for what's out there, because that gives some indication of how much I can accomplish. A bank might look at something at one type of business and say, well, the market is saturated. There's not room for another one. Once my plan has identified what it is that I do, the purpose of the business, and the customers that I'm selling to and the market that I'm operating in, then I want to present the marketing strategy. That is, how am I going to reach those people? So it's part of it is the promotional plan and the advertising media that I might use, which is typically what you would think in terms of marketing. But also it's communicating what is the image, what is the message that I'm trying to share with my customers. That really creates my brand, and I want that brand to create value in the marketplace so that they're willing to pay money for what I have to sell. So, and part of that marketing strategy is also your pricing strategy. How much do I need to charge? What is the price that I'm going to charge for my products and services in order to make this a worthwhile venture, to really make this an opportunity to make money. And another piece of marketing strategy is also distribution. How do I get my products and services to my market? Do I drop ship? Do I have a truck delivery service? Do I do it all via the internet? Whatever it might be. I want to define what that process is. And along the way, in this narrative of this business plan, you'll find that there's numbers attached. So there's money attached to what kind of media I use or my distribution strategy. So I want to keep that in mind as I build towards the financial piece of my business plan. Next critical component of the business plan is describing the management team. And as I mentioned before in the executive summary, really a very important piece of a business plan for a financing proposal, because the bank is loaning money to you. And they're doing it because they have confidence that you can make it happen, that you can drive this business model so that it generates cash to repay the loan, to meet all your other payment obligations. So they're going to evaluate expertise, perhaps education, certainly industry experience, and they're also going to look at what is the key team that you surround yourself with to fill the gaps, if you will, of your skill set, so that you have an overall strong management team. Okay. Closely following that section is the operations section of the plan, where you're going to define what I might call a day in the life of the business and how it works. What are the processes, the key processes that are involved in doing what you say you're going to do. And with that would be your staffing plan, would be what kinds of facilities you have, equipment needs that you might have, all of that laid out so that the banker can see that you can do what you say you're going to do. And then ultimately we get to the financial plan. And this is really, bankers are going to read the narrative part of it, but they're ultimately going to the numbers. And those numbers really reflect the quantitative interpretation of what you said in the story of the plan. You want to make sure they're consistent. So whatever numbers you have are reflected in the description that you talked about within the narrative of the plan. So within a business plan, if you kind of consider a 3-year time period, kind of a reasonable amount of time to project into the future. After 3 years gets a little fuzzier for me. But a 3-year time period, looking at monthly projections, sales, cost of goods, operating expenses, net profit, 12 to 24 months on a monthly basis, and that third year maybe on an annual basis. We'd also look at cash flow projections, which really reflect the timing of the cash, how you collect, what's left over at the end in terms of payment obligations, and also would include a balance sheet. And balance sheets are reflecting what you own and what you owe. And so I'm doing those things all based on projections, right? It hasn't happened, but I have good solid market research and assumptions documented to show this is where the numbers came from. And it really reflects that I understand how the cash flows in and out of my business. And I think that's the most important piece, is that you're telling the banker, yeah, I know how this business works and I know how to manage it. The business plan is an essential part of a loan proposal and really reflects your knowledge of how much money you need and what are you going to do with it in order to successfully implement your business model.